Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Obviously, as you can see here, I'm having to do voiceover. I'm just explaining here that obviously I'm going to be changing the CCV on the car. My mics end up cutting out halfway through this, and there's quite a few clips that I'm going to have to do voiceover, but the rest went perfectly fine. I'm just explaining here that we are going to be changing the CCV on the car. As you know, it was blown. The CCV, I did end up changing it in the end. It was a pig of a job to do. I didn't think it was going to be that kind of hard, considering I've done it on the M52s and it is a lot easier. Nathan finds it easier on this. I find it a doddle on the M52. I can do that with one hand tied behind my back. But this car was a complete nightmare. It took me in the end nearly 8 hours just to change this CCV after splitting about 100 of intake pipes on the car that were just breaking off left, right and centre, losing this, losing that. So we're going to go on to the video, guys, and then I'm going to just give you the voice of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to show you the step-by-step how to change the CCV. So let's move on to the next step. Okay guys, so as you can see here now, we're going to be starting removing the air filter box which connects onto the frame here. As you can see, the slam panel. So you just need to, you see me do this quite a few times. All you need to do is remove the 3 little rivet clips inside, just pull them up, the tabs up with a pair of long needle nose pliers or whatever pliers you've got, and just take them out. After that, you then want to remove the Torx 30 bolt and the 10mm bolt, which is located on the air filter box itself. It might be different on your car. Maybe someone's lost the bolts on them, who knows. As you can see here, this is a new Febby built-in intake boot that connects onto the idle control valve and onto the throttle body. As you guys know, these split and mine was split, as I've shown you in the previous videos. It was wrapped up with some tape, who knows why. And obviously you'll see here, this is a CCV kit, Febby built-in one as well, cold weather kit. This was £70 on eBay. They are very good, and obviously, as I said, the Febby built-in make the parts for BMW. They just have BMW's part name on it, and that's why it ends up selling for a lot of money. So what we're going to go ahead and do, guys, now we're just going to remove everything off the car and take off everything, as you know, airbox first, intake boot, and then the rest comes as it goes along. So let's crack on and get that doing. So as you can see, guys, I'm now removing the airbox itself with the needle nose pliers, and as you can see, they just pull out like that. They're not hard to actually get out. They're just very easy, and as you can see, you just pull up and pull out like so. So there you have it. That's the 2 of them out. There's actually 3 of them in total, so you want to remove all 3. Next, after that, you want to just pull the airbox off, and that's about it. And then just take out the little air duct that goes into the airbox itself. It's not hard to get out, and it just slides back in. Now, once that's out, you're going to obviously want to get your ratchet and just remove all the bolts that sit on the air filter box itself, which are down here, Torx 30, and a 10mm socket up there. So as you can see, guys, I've got my impact gun here, and I'm just going to take out all the bolts, which is the first one is a 10mm. Next one is a Torx 30 after that, so you're going to want to remove that one as well after this. So as you can see, guys, now I'm going to use my impact gun on the Torx 30 bolt, and you're just going to want to bring it out like so. And it just comes straight out, or no issue when you've got an impact gun. As you guys know, yes, I do have the same one as Nathan. So now what you want to do is then disconnect the MAF sensor, MAF plug, and then you want to get a 6mm socket or so as you can see, guys, I've got my 6mm socket on the Jubilee, and I'm just going to release it with my impact gun. Then what we're going to do is pull the intake boot off of the airbox to take the airbox out. Now, as you can see, the airbox sits on like a frame inside the car, so you just want to pull it off. Obviously, if you're going to be changing them anyway, don't be too cautious of them. Now, as you can see, this little wire in here connects onto the back of the airbox itself. Just remember that when you take it off. Now, next thing you're going to want to do is you want to get behind. You want to remove all the firewall entry points and everything else that blocks the view of the throttle body itself, and obviously the throttle body intake boot. As you can see, there's all 10mm bolts there that hold the junction box on with all the wiring that you need to take off as well. So just remember that, and obviously be careful with these vacuum hoses. I did break mine, the little small one that runs back to the fuel pressure regulator. I need to replace that now. It is a common problem, so be very, very careful as you are disconnecting them, because they do break. So as you can see, guys, now I'm moving on, and I'm going to be using my impact gun to release all the boots off the intake boot itself. And obviously they just it makes the life very easy with the impact gun. And obviously be careful, as you guys know, there's a plastic bit that sits on that connects these two together, and you don't want to lose that. So if you are changing the boot, remember to take that off and put it in the next boot. So as you can see, that's the first one off, and now we're going to go and get the second one off now with the impact gun. Okay guys, so I've got the intake manifold off. As you can see here, I didn't record the whole scenario because I ended up getting Nathan on the phone to help me with this, as this turned out to be a complete nightmare. This has only been probably the second time I've done this on this car, and after doing so many M52s, this turned out to be a complete pig. It was not easy. Most of the vacuum hoses snapped. They're all brittle. I'm just trying to find the one here. Like, as you can see here, this one right here is completely brittle and broke off on the side here. The other one that goes to the intake boot ended up snapping off, coming from down, I think, the fuel filter itself. It's going to be a complete nightmare. It has not been easy to take off this. No wonder why so many people try and do it with the manifold intact, because of this reason. Obviously, as you can see here, the injectors are all out. They've all got to come off. The job is very, very complicated. Nathan's obviously got enough videos showing how to do this, so that's why, again, why I never really recorded the whole lot. But as you can see, just showing you guys, it is off. We are replacing the CCV. The CCV, as you can see, was completely shot and deteriorated. It's covered in oil, which can be seen there. It's quite bad and perished, and it's never been changed before. It's leaking really bad oil. The manifold as well is covered in oil inside, which will be seen here. Let me just get the torch on for you, because you can see in there it's very bad. So that's why we're changing the CCV in the first place. It's covered in oil inside. I would have had a look inside and it was completely shot. The only great thing is that the disvalve, which is here, is new, as they said when I bought this car. So they did just replace the disvalve, and it does work fully. It fully functions properly. We held the finger over the vacuum line and it works perfectly. So that's the only great thing about that, is that one's working. The rest of it, though, I'm not too sure about. As I say, it is quite concerning that, obviously, like I say, the CCV was never replaced. They replaced the disc probably due to all this being inside here, being blown. So they just, you know, done that. But apart from that, like I say, the car itself is now stripped. The manifold's out. We're going to be putting a new CCV on. We've got the Febby Bilston one, which is the cold weather kit. I've got to go back through and see what vacuum lines connect where. There's been a lot of vacuum lines pulled out of here to replace this, and I don't know what ones are broken, what ones are not. Obviously, we've had to take off the battery cable as well from underneath the manifold, which connects onto the joining socket there. I mean, look at the amount of bolts I've had to take off and everything just to get the manifold out. I find this more headache than the M52. Anyone with the M52 feel blessed. The M54 engine is not a very easy engine to deal with, and it's very complicated to even get the manifold off. I mean, the wiring box itself is not hard, but obviously they've got a bolt that goes to the manifold down here, which is a 16. I had to use my massive impact gun to take that off. All the 11s on the manifold, which is usually normal on this, but even getting it off was not straightforward. There was a lot of rocking backwards and forwards to pull it off. It was completely glued on. It had never been replaced. This has never been off in its life, so, which I expected anyway. But as you see here as well, because I couldn't get this off, we had to take off the brake booster as well, which is right here. As you can see there, we've had to take it all off. It runs back to the manifold. There's just so much involved in this one compared to the M52, and like I say, I feel privileged to have an M52 engine, because this is like a complete utter nightmare. I mean, luckily all the coolant lines are fine. They're covered in oil from that blown PCV. When I took the dipstick out as well, I ended up losing the dipstick, the 10mm bolt. I've ended up finding that now, so that's not an issue. I had a control valve fully perfectly working, no issues there. I've got to clean it up before I put it back in. Apart from that, everything's good. Obviously, guys, if you're going to do this, I would advise, especially in the US, change a starter down there, because you don't want to be getting this thing back out again. Trust me, it's just an absolute pig to get out. It's easier to change that under there now and do it all in one job than have to take it all off again. Obviously, when I did take it off, this little T-piece here broke, that goes there, which, you know, is normal. I've still got the cable lying around somewhere for it. I don't know where it's gone at the moment, but when we find it, I'll show you guys. It did come off, and I don't know, like I say, where to pull it on, what I've done with it anyway. But apart from that, the job ain't very complicated in itself once you've done it. But as I say, this is the part that ended up breaking, which goes to the throttle body boot itself. Now I'm not sure where this come from. It's quite long. It must go back underneath the car because the throttle body's only here, so this must go back quite far. Got to find out where it goes and replace it. Another vacuum line. I don't know if it's needed immediately, but we have to find out. Luckily it broke off from the T-piece, so it's not going to cause an air leak because it's closed anyway, but who knows. But guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and replace the CCV, and I'll show you how to do that once I crack on a bit. So obviously guys, I've just put on the new CCV, as you can see, and obviously you just want to bolt it up like that so it goes straight in, and this hose up here, which is right here, you want to wire this, push this up first and then push it round so it goes round here and then into the CCV itself, and then it twists and locks, and make sure it's locked in because you don't want this coming back out. That's the way it goes, and that's the pattern of it. Like I say, putting it back on the bench isn't too hard. Like I said, just make sure it's obviously locked in on the CCV itself and it's not wobbling. They do lock, the clips, as you can see there, they lock and they can't move, they're not free, and that's that part done. Next part you're going to want to do is all while the manifold is on, but this is the first part you want to get on. The oil tube as well, you can bolt on while the manifold's in the car as well, because it ain't hard to get to it, and then plug it back into the dipstick. Now as you can see here, I'm going to be reusing the O-ring for the dipstick because it looks not in bad condition. It's quite still hard. It's hard, but at the same time it wasn't leaking. It come out very easy, but the O-ring was left inside the sump, so make sure you do get that out, the dipstick O-ring, because sometimes it doesn't come out of the dipstick. Like it didn't remind, I had to go searching for it. Again, it's not hard once you've got it out because it's easily visible. Remember the 10mm bolt as well, be careful. If you're going to use an impact gun, it will come out on its own. So that's that one done. Now obviously you're going to want to clean up in here, which I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to clean up all the manifold and just clean it up a bit before I put it back on, because obviously it's not a job I want to do again. I'm going to get everything done and kill two birds with one stone and just do everything while this is out, redo everything if I can. If I've got any piping, I'm going to try and redo all the vacuum lines and just take my time before I put it all back on together, because it's not something I want to come back and do again. So that's what we're going to do, guys, and we'll back once I get it back on and I'll start plumbing up all the hoses. Now just quickly guys, now one thing you've got to remember is from your old CCV, I don't know if you can see here, there's like a blanking plug. You want to make sure you take this off, take this blanking plug off and pull it onto your new one, which is right here, because this is, if you've got M52 you won't have this, but you'll have another hose, but on this one we don't, so you've got to take it off your old one and pull it on here. Make sure you do that, otherwise you'll have a vacuum leak. So you just want to pull it off like this, which does come off right there, and then you just plug it on to here, which just goes straight on there, and that stops any kind of air leaks happening, and it just blunks that one off. But as you can see, that one is in very bad condition. I don't even know how this car survived this long, but as I said to you, in the UK this happens. This is an original BMW part again, which can be seen there with the stamp. It's never been changed. That's the whole reason why it's in this condition. That's why, like I'm saying, if you're watching this video, go and change yours, because this is such a big job. This is why a lot of people don't do it, but this is what happens when you don't do it. They end up becoming like this and causing an oil leak into your car, and this is the most common reason why your piston rings end up going on the car as well, because this ends up blowing, causing too much pressure on the car, and pressure ends up blow by ends up blowing your piston rings. Compression ends up losing oil. That's what I'm saying to you. If you're going to change it now. Check it. If it's not been your car's not been changed, go and do it. It's a must on these cars. Now I'm going to bolt the manifold back on, and the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your battery cable wire back through the manifold, and obviously you're going to want to make sure your brake booster's out the way. As you can see here, I've got the injectors down here as well, because the injector rails come off, they'll flop in here. You want to remove them all out of the way as well, and just do everything. Pass the cable through as well, and obviously the manifold should come through very easy. Okay guys, so now we're just bolting up the last bolts. As you'll see there, everything's just in your way. Nothing's ease of access on this car, as I've learned. Now that's done, now you just want to keep getting all your 11s and then bolt them up. If you ain't got an impact gun, when you're tightening them by hand, just make sure you don't over torque them, over tighten them, and it'll be fine. Like me, I'm going to go around and tighten them down by hand after. I think what we're going to do is switch my swivel and the impact. And just keep going around, bolting them up. Now we ain't got more left, we've only got 2 left, so save me the headache of dropping it in the engine bay. I'm going to tighten it up by hand and tighten it with the impact. Save me having to take all that back off to get the bolt, which I could have got in the end. Yes guys, and as you can see I have got the same one as Nathan. Well, actually Nathan's got the same one as me, but anyway. Now the rear one is a bastard to get to, but it can be done. I did use my ratchet to get this one out. As you see, it does go on. And now what you're going to do is just use the swivel socket and get in there and tighten it up. And you just want to tighten it up a little bit and then tighten it up by hand, as I told you. So now what I'm going to do is take that down there. Now what we're going to do is tighten it down. The extension I think we're going to need. It's all tight. So for this one, tight, tight, and just go through them until you know they're all tight, which I think they will be. The impact is way powerful and it will tighten them all down. So I don't think I'm going to have to go over the rest. They're all done. So now the next thing you're going to want to do is the CCV hoses. Now, as you know, this is the one that you're going to want to push through and then lock onto your CCV, which sits underneath. So now you're going to want this angle, which is right here, and you're going to want to push that through straight down here and into the CCV area, which is here. Now I'm doing it like this, you guys probably won't see. But you know which way it aligns by just take up when it goes on. Now, providing you get the right hoses, it will align perfectly and go straight on.
Now you can keep it on as soon as you get it under, which I'm just about to do. As you see, I don't want to put this one on just yet. I'm just using it to align it to know how far it goes. Take a bit of faffing about under here to get it on. I don't know why this is. It would probably be better if we button bolt with it. Come on down, can't get it on. But I don't fancy doing that. But, you know.
Okay guys, so I've got this other hose now on. Now I would strongly advise doing this hose, clipping it in while the manifold's up. You're going to struggle getting that at that quarter-degree turn while it's down here and the CCV's under there. So if I was you, do it the way I'm saying to you to do it. Now the next thing you're going to want to do after that is you're going to want to bolt the manifold back down. Then you're going to want to reattach the lower sub hose, because that's the one that you're going to need that goes to the back to the dipstick. Put that back in now, because once the wires are out in the way, you want to put this back onto the dipstick before you put it back on now. Put lubricant on here. Now I'm just going to spray lubricant inside the hole, but if you've got jelly lubricant, use that as well. Now obviously the top one can go on once you put the next piece on, the breather system back on, which goes back to the top and goes back in. It's not an issue to do that now. That's very easy to do after the whole everything's back together. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to reconnect the injectors, reconnect all the fuel rail back up, get the booster back in, get the battery cable back in, just get everything back on the way it was, bolt back up this booster hose, and then away we go. Obviously, as you guys know, I've got a new intake boot because the other one was completely perished. I don't think I showed you guys it, so I'm just going to show you guys it now. And as you can see, if you remember it having a bandage all over it, if you remember now, if you just take a look at here, I don't know if you can clearly see that or not, look how many splits that's got in it. Now, as you'll know, this is actually quite common on these that they split, but look how many splits that's got in here. 3. And the person tried to bodge job it with like a bandage and to hold it all up. Now, as you can see, that's not good, and that should not have been like that. So that would have been leaking already. I'm very surprised the car was even running as good as it was with it like that. But as you can see, that one was completely bad. So we're going to be changing that. I've got to take the clamps off and put them on the new one. So that's going to be the new one we're going to go back on. The disavow, as I've showed you, is brand new. But as I see, guys, you've just got to bolt it all back up together. Just remember which switches go where. There's a lot of switches to go what one, so just remember each one that goes in turn. So now what we're going to do is we're going to crack back on and finish it all up. So guys, as you can see, most of the majority of the work is now back on. I've got everything reconnected, but we still have quite a lot to go. I've still got to put on a new idle control valve boot. We still got to plug up all the wiring, start making the car run and hear it and make sure there's no leaks after that. We've still got to put the dipstick back in, which I'm going to do after. This is just an absolute nightmare. As I said, this job is not as straightforward as it is on the M52, maybe because there's no dipstick in the way, I don't know, but this car is becoming a complete headache. And like I say, I'm thinking I'm now going to get rid of it probably after this. This is not a car I will ever come back to. I think diesels are the best way forward on these, on the BMs. These engines, the M54 is an engine to avoid. So that's going to be what I need to do next. We're going to bolt off everything, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start up. I have connected, as you can see down there, the CCV line for the hose, as you can probably see, straight down there. But it goes back to the dipstick. There's a new tube ready. I've just got to put the dipstick back in, connect that back up, get all these electronics back in, the disavow, everything kind of reconnected, idle control valve, throttle body, you name it, everything's got to go on this car. So after that, guys, we'll be back in and we'll see how it works out. Okay guys, so as you can see, the majority of the car's back together. The new idle control valve boot is on. Mostly everything's back intact. The dipstick's back in. Now what you've got to do is just bolt back up the cover, obviously the airbox, and get the car back running. This job is an absolute nightmare, and it's something I wouldn't ever recommend anyone doing, because obviously it is something you can do at home, but it's not as easy as it is on the M52. And I'll say that, I'll keep saying that for good now. This car is an absolute joke to do the CCV on, and it's not worth it. These engines are just not worth it for what it is, how old these cars are. Just doing the CCV on them, it isn't really practical. I think after this now, I'm just going to get rid of this car and stick with the new technology and get rid of this old technology, because this is just way besides too much crap in the way. Whoever designed the M52 designed it properly. Whoever designed this, don't ask me who designed that CCV system all the way down there. So guys, what we're going to do is bolt everything back up and then I'm going to stop. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've now finished with the car. The CCV's been done. This has took me nearly 6 hours to do now. As you guys know, I'm very quick on the M52, but this engine's, I've got to say, is a piece of shit. It's nothing like the M52. I don't like this M54 engine, hence why now that's done, I'm putting it up for sale. The car's now going to be for sale. Get rid of that and then hopefully get myself a diesel. No way do I want to do this car again. I think I'll keep my A60. I think I'm just going to sell this and buy a diesel car. It's not worth it, the aggro. And like I say, I feel sorry for you guys in the US who have to have this engine, because boy, it really, really isn't worth it. When you're going to do vacuum lines, you don't do vacuum lines for a petrol. Diesel, yes, but petrol shouldn't have that many vacuum lines, and they're all brittle, all cracking. They even said it's an easy job. Well, you lot have to deal with it, so you will find it easy. I don't have to deal with this car. So that's it guys. As you've seen, I've changed CCV. The car, it's not a job I will ever want to do again. that therefore the car's going to be going. Thanks very much for watching. It's BMW Dr. Dean here.